So, I'm gonna say is the last point of the day, and this is a big one. At least in the gaming universe, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Resident Evil 5 remake. Now, personally, I'm looking forward to this remake, but we know someone who isn't. IGN.
Wait, was that confirmed?
No, it's not confirmed, but
Oh, is it just like like people are just assuming
considering the teaser at the end of Resident Evil 4 with Albert Wesker, the main antagonist of Resident Evil 5, and the fact that he's not in Resident Evil Veronica, which is the only other game they could remake, it looks like it will indeed be Resident Evil 5.
Interesting.
With that being
Yeah,
said,
I was out of the loop on that. So
you got it.
continue. Yeah, continue.
With that being said, recently a take came out that IGN recently made that wasn't popular amongst fans, to say the least. Now, with that being said, I actually went out and watched the IGN video. I know, horrible. So I actually went out and
you actually watched IGN.
I know. I'm sorry, guys. First of all, I just want to say something before we even start the take that they gave. I just want to give you a little bit of context, just the smallest little itty bit of context. When Resident Evil 5 came out, guess what rating IGN gave it? A 9! A 9 out of 10!
Yeah.
Just want to point that out. Just want to point that out. Because as this video continues, as this clip, whatever you're watching this on, Space Shuttle, it continues to get crazier. So, first of all, Resident Evil 5, when it came out, they gave them a 9. Now, at the time, when Resident Evil 5 came out, there were some racist allegation kind of going around. Basically, there was a debate amongst journalists and the media that Resident Evil 5 was indeed racist because of white colonialism, or, you know, a white person going into Africa shooting black people. That's the initial thought. That's the initial thing. Oh my God, this imagery looks horrible. Why would they do this? And, you know, of course, normal people, you know, like you and me, normal people, like pretty much any gamer that's ever existed, no one was ever offended by this game. Ever. Simply the only people that were offended was the media, including IGN, because IGN needs to prove how not racist we are, quote unquote. That's my take of it. There's quite a few mixed reactions. There's quite a few negative reactions, rather, to IGN. I believe their dislike ratio was somewhere around 2.4 thousand likes to 15,000 dislikes, give or take. And 170,000 viewed video, so yeah, that's pretty big. I will be showing screenshots of multiple comments where people from Nigeria or South Africa, or pretty much anybody from that region, actually not giving a shit about the imagery, because Resident Evil is a zombie game where you shoot zombies in the head. That's all it is. It is really that simple. It has nothing to do with white colonialism or how white people have disempowered the black man. Thing is, all the other Resident Evils had you do the same thing, go to a location and shoot the people from that location. Nobody got mad when Spaniards were being shot in Resident Evil 4, and nobody got mad when Japanese people were being shot in Resident Evil 6. Yet people get mad when people in Africa are being shot. Except they're not people. They're zombies. I think they're called, I forget their name. It's the Ouroboros virus, but they're basically zombies. Infected individuals that are zombies that we must kill. It is really that simple. It is not anything more complicated than that, IGN. So please, for the love of God, do not let your little dumb fuck narrative ruin the narrative pursuits of the new Capcom remake for Resident Evil 5. Because Capcom has been making awesome games, and if they feel any kind of quote-unquote social pressure, they may feel like they need to pivot and change the story, their original idea of a story, just to fit your narrative, which, by the way, nobody who's ever actually played the game or has watched the game or is anything involved with the game actually believes and agrees with your narrative. Nobody. Not a single person that I know. Not a single person in the comments. Not a single YouTuber. Nobody agrees with you, IGN. Yet you continue to push this self-righteous narrative that you are the arbiters, that you are correct, that if you don't do it, if you don't make it the way that we say you need to make it, then you can't make the remake. It is the only decision. That's basically what your take was, IGN, and I wholeheartedly disagree. And I think that if you were to just look inward and think that you are probably just painting your own narrative around the video game, that maybe you'd probably be thinking of yourselves as the racist. Because no one said anything about race the entire game. I played it multiple times. No one says anything about race the entire game. It is simply you shooting zombies in Africa. That is it. If you find a white colonialism message in there, that means that you've stopped digging the rabbit hole that is Resident Evil 5, and you've started to make your own hole on the other side of the fucking map and made up your own conclusions. You get my drift? So, all this to say, don't believe what IGN says. If you truly want to have an opinion on Resident Evil 5, you should either watch a playthrough of it or play the game yourself. It's really cheap right now. Don't believe everything that you see and or read. And fuck IGN. That's all I have. Any thoughts?
Nice. You know, this is the first time I'm really hearing of this. So it's interesting what their perspective is on Resident Evil 5. The entire time I was just thinking, you know, when these kinds of storylines or these kind of headlines surface and come up about certain games, you know, you start to think of a lot of other examples that they are not targeting at all. See, I immediately thought of the X-Men Origins Wolverine movie game.
Yeah.
For about half that game, you're in Africa as Wolverine, ripping black people in half. And not once did I think that game was racist in any way. I just thought, oh, cool, I'm playing as Wolverine.
They were militia in Africa being killed by a fictional character, Wolverine. They were mercenaries.
Yeah.
That's all it was. There is nothing past that narrative. If you find something else in that narrative, that means that you are hallucinating. You have a mirage of sorts. While you're digging that hole, you suffered from heat exhaustion. Get hydrated and shut the fuck up. Continue.
Yeah. And it's also pointed out in the story of not just the game, but in the movie too, that the mercenaries that Wolverine was with were the bad guys. So you're not really, you know, doing good things during that section of the game. So I don't know. I know that, you know, a lot of games and, you know, just stories in general, lots of media do have political undertones in them. But I think a lot of times people look too far into it. Yeah. So when you have something like, oh, you're fighting zombies in Africa, it's like, oh, you're killing black people because this game is racist. Mm-hmm. That's not the case at all. In Grand Theft Auto, if I run over a random dude, I'm not running over him because of his political allegiance. I'm running over him because I'm a bad fucking driver in GTA.
Here's the thing. You're not running over a guy. You're not running over a guy. You're running over
it's a fucking
code. That's what you're doing.
Code.
And yet I'm the racist. Another thing I want
exactly.
I'm sorry. Another thing I want to point out for Resident Evil 5, just in case people think this is like, oh well, you know, you're a white man shooting zombies that happen to be black. Let me add another thing. Guess who the second protagonist is? As in, who's your partner? Sheva Alomar. Where do you think she's from? Africa. So I don't know. Maybe she's racist against her own people. Yeah, that's what it is. My bad.
Black on black crime.
Yeah, you're right. Continue.
But if they thought about that, there wouldn't be a headline.
Yeah, you're right. That's what it is. That, at the end of the day, IGN just doesn't understand that this is a video game that takes place in Africa. And no one cares when Spaniards are shot or Japanese people are shot. Because guess what? It doesn't matter. It's a zombie game. That's all it is. Stop with the bullshit, man. Seriously.
Video games are video games, guys.
It's a video game. It's a video game. And if Resident Evil 5 actually had that subject matter, like let's say there's something in like text form, like you could read notebooks and it said something along those lines and like it started to go into like deep racist stuff, then yeah. But none of that exists. You know how I know? Because I played that game over and over and over and over again throughout my childhood. Nothing like that exists. The closest to something like that exists is when a village deep in Africa is being tested on for the Ouroboros virus, and they're like testing people there. But the thing is, guess what happens in literally every single Resident Evil game that's ever been made ever. The bad guys test their monsters, their mutagens, whatever it's called, on innocent people. Literally every Resident Evil game. It was not exclusive to Resident Evil 5.
That's the fucking plot of Resident Evil.
That's all it is. So if you're trying to tell me that that's what it was, which that's not what IGN said, because of course, why would they? You know, actually make some kind of sense. Because, you know, it's fucking IGN. Instead, And they tried to give you the narrative that, the advertising gave you hints of white colonialism because a white man was shooting a black man. That's literally all it was. There was nothing else. There was nothing else to their argument. They just kept saying that we're right, you're wrong, don't do it again, Capcom. That's it. That's all they were saying. I hope Resident Evil 5 is not affected by this bullshit take, because that's what it is. It's bullshit. You don't do your research, you don't play the game, and you don't see that it's actually just a dumb zombie game where you have fun and shoot zombies all day. That's all it is. That's all it ever will be. It's a fun fucking action game that if you truly want to have an opinion on, you should actually play and or watch. That's it. That's all I have. That's all I don't want to entertain the idea any further. Continue with my take. With your take, rather, and I'm done. Continue.
So white zombies are okay?
Yeah, white zombies
IGN?
are okay.
Huh?
Japanese zombies are okay. In Resident Evil 6, I can shoot dogs. Where's PETA? Huh? Fuck you, alright? It's a video game. It's so goddamn... You know what? We're done. This is fuck IGN. That's the last words of the podcast. Fuck IGN.
Bet.